Bugging in. What is bugging in? Bugging in is your home strategy to shelter in place in case of natural or man-made disasters. Bugging in. There's bugging out where you take everything and you go and leave everything. And if you do that, there's a whole bunch of steps with that. We'll go another time. But in this series that I'm doing, I want to focus this time on a flyover, because there's a deep dive we can always do at a later time. And there's also in my blog and in the show notes below this, you can find where you can get links to a lot of information, much better than me. I'm just a novice at this, but I wanted to talk about it because I think at RX Healthy Habits, we need to tell people about how to protect their health. And this is one way you need to think about, so you don't have undue suffering and actually put yourself in a life-threatening situation, all right? Because you didn't prepare at all. So we're going to go through and talk about 5 key areas, 5 areas if you had to stay home and stay put during an emergency. What would you have to do? Number 1, you got to start thinking about on your radar, got to be water. That's a lifeline to survive. If you're going to bug in, you need to have enough water for 1 gallon per person per day. So let's say, God forbid, you're shut down for like, say, 4 weeks. God forbid, that's rare, but let's say that's a pretty bad scenario. It's 112 gallons for a family of 4. Think about that. So what are some simple things? Well, we'll deep dive on this, but real quick, I got something I can put in my bathtub, fill it up. That's 100 gallons in my bathtub of tap water. That means you'd have to run the tap water if you knew something was happening real quickly before the water runs out. There's other things like water purification methods, filters, tablets. There's all kinds of devices out there. If you have questionable water supplies that you have to rely on. What if you had to use pond water? Well, that's a whole issue there. Stream water, you have a lot of things to worry about there with parasites. But if you have a way of filtering stuff, then you can get water. Water's key. That's number 1. Number 2, food. Water and food. Food and water, right? Essentials. For the long haul, you have to have some things available that can last for weeks. Non-perishable foods. You have to stock up and you have to replenish, but also rotate those by using them. But think about really nutrient-dense foods too. Things that can be canned, nuts, beans. If you have a way of putting them in water and getting something hot like your grill is probably not going to just be gas, but you'd have to think of some other sources. It's so important to have food like that available. You can also buy a lot of this from some of these companies out there that specialize in food prep during times. Some of these things last 25 years. Comfort foods. Don't forget to have some treats. It's good to have some candy in the house for emergencies. You never know, right? Rotate your stock. Number 3, energy and power, keeping the lights on. This is something that a lot of people don't think about. When the grid goes down or power goes down because of, like, say, a natural disaster like they had in some of these areas in North Carolina during the hurricanes. What are you going to do? What's your stock up on batteries, rechargeable items? What are some of the things you can do with solar? Do you have any options with generators? And then you also have to think about when it comes to power, besides keeping the lights on, you can do all kinds of things with candles and lanterns. I get all that. That's important. But you have alternate cooking methods available. You got a gas grill outside, a barbecue, fine. It's only going to last a little while. Do you have maybe another grill you could use with some briquettes? And do you have several bags? Okay? Something simple like that. Health and sanitation, so important. A lot of people don't realize you're going to have to figure out a way for biological processes, especially, we, as humans, how are you going to deal with garbage, like, in the house? What's your waste management plan? And how are you going to do all that? Do you have garbage bags? Can you keep them secured someplace where they're not going to be a health hazard? All those. When it comes to soaps, do you have extra sanitizers, hand sanitizer that do without water that you could use? All those things. So sanitation, especially your health, you don't have to give out during an emergency because it's going to be hard to get services. So security, this is number 5, and this is the last one. I believe you got to be ready to reinforce your house, because if things prolong, then people start doing stupid things, getting desperate, and start to look at you as a source or a target to get what they need. And you don't want that. If you can help it, you want to avoid confrontation by keeping them out. And you should have a safe room in your house so you can avoid danger. You should have a communication in place so you can communicate with people maybe near you, neighbors. You have to reinforce all the entry points in your home. So security is important. You want to talk about weapons and all that, we're not going to do that here. But what does security mean to you? And some people, I think, are just assuming that the police or the National Guard or somebody's going to be there to help. Martial law is going to be in place. Yeah, but you got to be ready to stand on your own a little bit, okay? So anyway, hope those 5 tips help. Shelter in place, is it an option? Absolutely. Are you ready to have the time to prepare for some of this so that when you have to shelter, you're not going to be really uncomfortable? You're going to have a almost near normal life during that time, which most people will not. 90% of them won't, because they don't prepare like you. Hope that helps, and stay safe. God bless.